Hey y'all, I'm Pastor Mike. I've got my coffee. Let's talk leadership. We're in this study of the life of Moses, and we're doing it, of course, out of the book that I wrote a few years ago, Heart of a Leader, because I believe Moses is one of the greatest leaders in history, and I believe we can learn an awful lot about how to lead from looking into his life and from looking into the way that he did this. Now, remember, we're talking about leadership in a progression of always constantly learning at different levels of leadership. So we talked about learning to be the fine child that God made you, learning to be what God designed you to be, and whatever that is, learning to find fulfillment inside of it. Whether you're leading a small group or a movement, you're finding fulfillment in doing what God created you for, and you're discovering that niche, that sweet spot, by asking yourself, what does my heart break for? And so you're learning to be who God made you to be, because you're never going to find fulfillment being anybody else. We talked about learning to give direction, learning to make a difference. Learning to make a difference comes when we begin to do things and we begin to make a difference in life, when we begin to accomplish things. And when you learn to make a difference, when you accomplish things, watch, I know who I am, I'm getting things done. That leads to learning to give direction, because people will follow you if you know who you are and you're getting things done. If you know who you are and you're being effective, people will follow you, and now you can give direction. They'll take direction from you. Then it's learning to build structure, because structure will allow me to exponentially multiply what I'm able to accomplish if I can build the right structure around me. And then it's learning to leave a movement, so that in the end, I'm not just doing what I can do in my lifetime. I'm learning what God can do in his lifetime. So look, we've talked about making a difference. We talked about learning to be, and we've talked about making a difference. Now, let's move to giving direction. Now, when you get to giving direction, it's a matter of really just getting started. Remember this. Moses, as we left him off last time, has received his call from God. That call is very clear, and that call is very real. Moses has heard from God, and God says, go to Egypt and tell the Pharaoh, let my people go. Okay? Got it. That's what I'm supposed to do. He's also got in his hand the staff of God, which is the evidence of the power of God for him. God says, look, show them this, and they'll know you're from me. So watch. He knows what he's called to do, and he's got one trick. And now it gets started. Y'all, I believe every leader on the planet has had that moment. I know what I need to accomplish, and I got one trick. I'm a one-trick pony, but I got to accomplish this. Have no idea what's next. Have no idea how to get started. Have no idea, but I'm going. I'm on it. So he gathers everybody else. He asks Jethro for permission. Puts the whole family in the minivan, and off they go. Okay, it was camel, but still, it was donkey, but still, stay with me. So off they go. But what are they going to do when they get there? How's he going to accomplish this? He didn't have any idea. The first time you sit down and think, what do I do? How am I going to accomplish this? It's daunting. It's truly daunting. Moses knew in his gut the difference he was supposed to make from the beginning. I'm convinced of that. I'm convinced that even in the moment when he kills the Egyptian, doing exactly the wrong thing, he's probably doing the wrong thing for the right reason, because his gut tells him this is what he's supposed to do. But even now, all he's got is, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I got this one trick. I got this one thing. I got this, so many people never make it past that moment. I have to tell you, even in my life, I had a hard time getting past that moment. I knew in my heart, I knew in my gut what God had called me to do. But I didn't think I had the capacity to do it. I had this one thing I could do. Watch. When I first went into ministry, I was not the greatest candidate to succeed, because I'd had a difficult childhood. I describe school this way. Junior high school is hell. High school, seriously, I felt that way. Junior high school is hell. High school is purgatory. I'm not even a Catholic, and I think high school is purgatory. College was okay, and life is good. That's how I view it. That's the way my life worked out. But by the time I actually entered ministry, I was pretty broken. I didn't think I was capable of much. But here's the problem. I was broken. I didn't think I was capable of much. I didn't understand why anybody would follow me or anybody would listen. But in my head, in my gut, in my very soul, I saw this big church. I saw pastoring this large group. I saw leading beyond that church. I saw all that. And at the time, I would never mention it. Why? Well, number one, because I was broken. I didn't think I was capable of doing that. Why would I say that? It'd be like me saying I was going to play in the NFL. I can't play in the NFL. I can't. But I didn't think I could do it. But the second reason was, for me to say that would sound arrogant. It sounded arrogant in my ears. It sounds wrong in my ears now. And yet God's done all this. In the end, here's how I started ministry. I know God called me to teach and lead people. And I had this one trick. He gave me the capacity to preach. I didn't have it before. Literally as a child. I've told this story so many times. Literally as a child. When I was younger, I was a teenager, I would sing in groups. And my mother and Tina, who was my girlfriend at the time, they would beg me not to speak. Don't talk, Michael, because when you talk, you don't make no sense. I mean, that's who I was. And now all of a sudden, I accept a call to ministry of all things. What am I thinking? Well, I think God called me. And Tina tells the story of, I remember the evening, she didn't have time to prepare for a youth lesson with the youth group she led. And she said, Michael, would you teach this? I said, okay. So I took it and I taught it. And she said in the midst of that, she went, wow, where'd that come from? And from that point on, I was able to speak in front of people and to preach. So I had this one trick, literally just like Moses. I couldn't do it before God called me, but I could do it after he called me. So I got this call and I got one trick. What now? That's where we're at the end of the make a difference talk. Now we've got to talk about giving direction, because now you're still broken. You still don't believe you're capable. You still don't believe you can do it. But all of a sudden you're there and people are willing to follow you. And what are you going to do now? Well, let me show you this. Exodus chapter 4, verses 27 and 28. Here's the beginning. Okay, here's the beginning. The Lord says to Aaron, go into the wilderness to meet Moses. Stop. God told Aaron to go into the wilderness. God told Aaron, go to a place that you have no idea why you're going there. Go there and meet Moses. When you get there, Moses is going to be there. So he met Moses at the Mount of God and kissed him. He greeted him. Okay. Then Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had sent him to say, and also about all the signs he had commanded him to perform. Watch. God sent Moses somebody to help him. I said this in one of the past lessons, but I want you to hear it again. When God tells you who you are, you know in your gut what you're supposed to do. And then he starts working through you. Things start to happen. You start making a difference. Then people are then ready to follow you, and they're willing to follow you. And God will send people to follow you. God sent Aaron into the wilderness to find Moses because Moses needed Aaron's help. And for the rest of Moses' life, Aaron is going to be right by his side, holding up his arms, speaking for him, leading in his absence. Aaron is going to be Moses' number 2 guy for the rest of their lives. And the truth is, God put Aaron in that place. Watch. If you are going to make a difference, if you are going to begin to make a difference, if you're going to get started making a difference, watch. You cannot do this alone. You must build the team. You've got to build the team. Even if the team in the beginning is just the 2 of you. Even if the team at the beginning is just 2 of you, just you and one other person. You've got to have a team. You've got to work with people. Why? Because nothing great is ever achieved alone. Nothing great is achieved alone. You know, sometimes you think, well, this person did that. No, there's the support base behind them to get all of that done is stunning. I mean, just to accomplish this video that we're doing here today, 4 people showed up. and did all kinds of different things that I don't know how to do just to accomplish this video, just to make this teaching required a team. Everything you will ever do will require a team. To be quite clear about it, from the very beginning of my ministry, the one person that has always been there is Tina. So when we went somewhere, it worked really well for us because when we showed up as a team. Then started to build a team around us, but we showed up as a team. As our kids got older, they got involved in ministry with us. And now, you know, when the Hilson family shows up, there's a team. Now, if each members of our team has a team around them, suddenly all of a sudden you've got a huge team and you're starting to multiply even exponentially what you can do. But you got to start with a team. You're not going to do this by yourself. Get that out of your mind. That's a lie from the devil. The devil will tell you, you don't need anybody. You can do this. You're a self-made man. You're a self-made woman. You can do this. No, you can't. No, you can't. You cannot do this by yourself. You need someone else alongside you. God knows that. And he sent Aaron. Listen, sometimes God will send your Aaron into the desert to find you, into the wilderness to find you. And when your Aaron shows up, you will just be so dense as to look at them and say, well, why are you here? Well, they're here because God sent them, because God knew you needed them. God's always going to provide the people you need, but you've got to build a team. After you build the team, you've got to understand the process. Listen, everything you ever want to do with any group of people, there's a process involved. Watch this. Exodus chapter 4, verses 29 to 31 says this: Moses and Aaron brought together all the elders of the Israelites, and Aaron told them, watch, Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses. Moses said, I can't talk. God said, I'll send Aaron to speak for you. So Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses. He also performed the signs before the people, and they believed. And when they heard that the Lord was concerned about them and had seen their misery, they bowed down and worshiped. These people worshiped God because God had seen their misery and God had sent someone to do something about it. They were only going to follow Moses. Remember, they didn't think highly of Moses. They knew he had killed an Egyptian soldier. Maybe nobody knew the story anymore, but the ones that wanted to kill him were gone. But they didn't think very highly of him. He's not from there. He's not one of them. He's either an Egyptian or he's a Midianite, but he's never really been an Israelite. But he's born an Israelite. Watch. He's born an Israelite, raised an Egyptian, has been for the last 40 years a Midianite, and now he wants to come back and lead the Israelites. Why would they even let him? Why would they let him? Well, Aaron is there. Aaron is clearly an Israelite. And Aaron is able to step up and say, really, guys, God called him to do this. When Tina and I first came to New Life, it's a church of about 100, and church grew a little bit. And then Pastor Aaron Rummage joined our staff. And it's a long story about how he joined the staff, but really God sent him into our wilderness with us. And he came in and he began to believe in what we were doing, and God called him to walk alongside us. I can tell you that to this day, that first group, 120, 150 people, as Aaron stepped in, Aaron is the age of my father. And when Aaron stepped in and said, listen, follow that young guy. He knows what he's doing. The fact they could hear him as an elder statesman say, follow Mike, gave such gravitas to everything we were doing. That's what Aaron is doing here for Moses. He's giving this strength, this depth, this gravitas to Moses. And he is doing it in front of, watch, the elders of the Israelites. Moses did not walk in and gather like a big, huge gathering of everybody, all the Israelites, everybody get together, I'm going to make a big speech and come in with a big splash and a concert. He didn't do that. He went to the elders. He went to the natural leaders. And the reason he did that was he knew that he had to start and go through their process in order to accomplish what God had called him to do. I want you to hear something. Everybody hates this phrase. Every time I use it, everybody hates it, but I want you to hear it. Our goal is spiritual. Hear me? Our goal is spiritual, but our process is political. And that's true even inside the church. Okay? If you do not understand, if you forget the spiritual goal, you won't accomplish anything of meaning. But if you forget to realize the political process, you won't accomplish anything at all. Look, there is a process to getting something done. You've got to find the leaders and get them on board. You've got to get them with you, behind you, helping you. And Moses and Aaron understood that. They understood the process that was required, and they followed it. Not because somehow they had to bow down to the leaders of the Israelite people, but because they had to understand the norms of the Israelite people. He couldn't just ride in on some white horse and expect everybody to gather around him and follow him. That's a lie fed to us honestly by Hollywood. Hollywood shows us times when somebody rides in somehow in a big tank or horse and they're in charge and everybody follows. Yeah, that's not real. That's not real. You got to follow the process. There's a way people receive direction. There's a way people receive a word from God. And you've got to do that in the way they're used to receiving it, or else you won't accomplish anything at all. Our goal is spiritual, but our process is political. Understand the political process and follow it to the best of your ability. Don't let it hamstring you. But don't forget to give it its due, or else you will fall, or else you'll fail at every turn. All right. So we've got to now we've got to set the goal. Okay. So what we've done so far is we've built the team, we've understood the process, and now we've got to set the goal. And listen, you got to set the goal in the immediate and in the way out there. Watch. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. Okay, there's the first goal you set. We need God to understand how bad it is. He just did. I have heard them crying out, and because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land. Watch, to bring them out of that land. There's the freedom. There's the next goal. Okay, our first goal is God sees us, God understands. Our second goal is God frees us. We're out of bondage, and He's come down to bring them out of that land into a spacious land, a good and spacious land. Wait, He's setting the third goal. It says here, a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. In other words, watch, goal one, I wish God even understood our problem. Boom. God sees your problem. Goal two, man, if we could ever get out of this trap we're in, God sets you free from that trap. But the freedom is not the end goal. The end goal is Canaan. The end goal is the promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey. The end goal for them, for these slaves in Egypt, the end goal is to establish and make a home out of the land that God had promised Abraham hundreds of years earlier. And all of a sudden, this goal is starting to come to fruition. Listen, again, come back to our experience. We came to a church, and our goal was to grow a church, right? Well, we didn't think that was a big enough goal. And so what we said, look, we're not building a church. We're building a movement. But why? Because you need an end goal. You need a goal that's bigger than anybody sitting there can imagine or could possibly believe is possible, because you're serving a God that's bigger than anyone can imagine. And if you just set a goal that says, well, we're going to grow the church. Okay, 10 more people, you accomplish your goal. No. You've got to set the goal. When we first came in, we said to them, we're not building a church, we're building a movement. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to build this church to be the largest church in our area. And then we're going to plant churches until we build a movement of churches and church planting in our area, so that our area becomes more and more and more saturated with the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's what we set as our goal. Look, no matter what this is, if you say, well, okay, I'm going to start a business. Well, the goal of your business cannot be simply to pay the bills. The goal of your business cannot be simply to not go bankrupt. There has to be a bigger goal, a next step goal. Otherwise, if you set your goals too short, you'll reach them early, and then you won't know what to do next. The truth is, we've got to set the goal, and we got to set it for the short term. They got to see that we're going to get out of Egypt. And the long term, we're going to conquer the land that has been promised to us ever since Abraham. So you got the short term and long term goals. Set them. Look, when you set goals for your people, when you set goals for your business, when you set goals for your classroom, when you set goals for your family, when you set goals for your church, set them beyond what you already know you're capable of. Finally, speak that goal. You got to speak the goal. After all of this, after he gets the buy-in of the leadership, after he gets the Israelites kind of behind him, it says, afterward Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says. Let my people go so that they may hold a festival to me in the wilderness. Moses and Aaron finally do what God has called them to do. All of this process to get started. You realize that the process of freedom has not started until this verse. Until they speak the goal to the people who need to hear it, the process of freedom has not even begun. It starts here. And when you speak God's words, you must speak God's words with authority and strength. They didn't go up and say, hey, Pharaoh, maybe if you don't mind, could we talk about maybe, I don't know, look, I'm sorry, They didn't do that. They said, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says. Now, Pharaoh has no use for the God of Israel. We're going to learn that. But they spoke God's words with strength and authority. Listen. In the end, God's going to accomplish the goals that he's put in your life. You're not going to get this done. He will. But as God begins to do things in your life, you must always remember that it all began with his vision that he put in your heart, quite frankly, before you were even born. You were born with this. It's been in your gut the whole time. You've had the dream. You've now engaged with the reality of God's call. You've now dealt with the political issues around you in the process to get you. And now you stand in the moment. The moment where you actually declare to the world around you, this is what God's going to do. And you have to have the guts to, with strength and authority, say, the Lord, the God of Israel, my God, has told me to tell you that this is where we're headed. Now listen, before you do that, you make sure it's God's words. But if it's actually God's words, then step out with strength, knowing that he is going to accomplish what you cannot even imagine as possible.